I sat there in the upscale Italian place downtown, the kind of spot where the menus don't list prices and the waiters glide like ghosts, and I felt the weight of every HOA rule Barb Kensington had ever shoved down my throat. The white tablecloths glowed under amber lights, mirrors everywhere, so you couldn't chew without watching your own reflection judge you. It was the Evergreen Estates HOA appreciation dinner, but everyone knew it was really Barb's personal performance review for the neighborhood. I was Ava Thompson, 34, compliance manager at a fintech firm, married to steady Michael, who kept his hand on my knee under the linen like an anchor in a sea of fake smiles. Across from us sat Lydia Caldwell, Barb's golden protege, her blonde updo tighter than a violin string, wearing a dress the color of expensive champagne. Next to her, Lydia's husband Tyler looked tired, and at the head of the table, commanding the air like she owned the zip code, was Barb herself, HOA president for life. Her husband Kenneth sat on her right, neutral as beige wallpaper, the HOA treasurer who never said much but signed off on everything. Barb swirled her wine, eyes glazed with that special mix of pity and superiority she'd perfected on every resident who dared plant the wrong shrub. Lydia's backyard renovation was simply exquisite, she purred, voice dripping saccharine. The native species only landscaping, the court's accents, the way it all ties into our covenants. I was telling the girls at the last board meeting that it sets the standard. Property values up 20%, dear. Lydia picked at her tiny piece of halibut. The HOA is so strict, but it keeps the riffraff out, right, Kenneth? Kenneth grunted, cutting his steak slower than necessary. Smart rules. Keep standards high. For 90 minutes I'd nodded, made the right noises about Lydia's square footage, her approved paint color, eggshell, of course, her zero-tolerance lawn height. Not once had anyone asked how Michael and I were doing in our modest 1970s colonial. They knew I'd been promoted. They knew we'd bought in last year. Asking would mean hearing an answer that didn't fit the script. Lydia, the star resident. Me, the quiet one who was supposed to stay a step behind so Lydia could shine. Michael squeezed my knee. He always knew. Barb suddenly turned her spotlight on me. Ava, she said, that fake smile tightening. I was just thinking Lydia's housewarming party last month was divine. The charcuterie alone probably cost $500. The flowers, the approved string lights. It was how things should be done. My neck muscles locked. I knew the trap. Barb sighed theatrically. It's just look at you two. You're 34. Lydia is only 2 years older. When are you going to catch up? A real home. Ava, when you can actually invite the board to. I know you bought that little starter place, but when are you going to live up to evergreen standards? I worry about you. I just want you to feel the joy of hosting something proper. The table froze. Tyler stared at his lap. Kenneth chewed slower. Lydia smirked into her manicure. I set my fork down with a soft click. Something inside me clicked too, like a lock finally opening after years of being jammed shut by fines for unauthorized mint in the herb bed. I folded my napkin into a perfect square. I'm proud of where I live, Barb, I said, voice steady. She laughed, tinkling like breaking glass. Oh, honey, I'm sure you are, but we're talking a certain standard. A housewarming is a statement. Lydia has arrived. When are we going to celebrate you? I looked at Michael. He gave the tiniest nod. Already celebrated, I said. The silence dropped like a guillotine. Lydia's wine glass froze midair. Barb's eyes widened. We had our housewarming last October. 30 people in the backyard. Michael built an outdoor oven. We made pizzas until 2 a.m. It was the best night of my life. Barb blinked, smile fracturing. You what? You had a housewarming? Why didn't I know? How could you host an event and not tell the board? Her voice cracked with genuine narcissist hurt. I'm the president. Ava. Why wasn't I invited? I met her eyes, no flinch. Because, Barb, you weren't on the list. A waiter dropped a fork somewhere. It sounded like a gunshot. Barb's mouth opened. No sound. Lydia gasped. Kenneth stopped chewing entirely. Excuse me. Barb choked. Not on the list? That is cruel, Lydia hissed. Barb has done everything for this neighborhood. I leaned forward. Or has she done everything for the image of this neighborhood? There's a difference. And frankly, I'm tired of paying the admission fee for a show I never auditioned for. Barb's eyes welled up, weaponized tears. I can't believe this. I try so hard. I just want the best for every resident. And you exclude me, your own HOA president. I smiled cold and calm. I excluded you because I wanted to be happy, and I realized those two things can't coexist in the same backyard. Kenneth cleared his throat. Warning rumble. Now, Ava, that's enough. It's the appreciation dinner. Let's not ruin the night. I stood up. I'm not ruining anything. I'm answering a question. Barb asked when I was going to catch up. I'm telling her I'm not running the same race. Michael rose with me. I left the 20 for my water. As we walked out, I felt their stares burning my back, but for the first time I didn't care. I thought I'd just set a boundary. I didn't know I'd lit a fuse under a fraud that would blow their perfect little kingdom sky high. The cool Ohio night hit my face like freedom as the valet pulled our car around. Michael asked if I was okay. I was better than okay. High on a rush of finally speaking the truth at an HOA event where everyone else bowed to Barb's pastel dictatorship. But as we drove toward our modest colonial in Whispering Pines, I didn't know my little declaration had triggered something far darker than a neighborhood spat. I thought the worst was over. I was wrong. The dinner was just the appetizer. The main course was coming, and it would cost me my name, my credit, and nearly my sanity. To understand why I put that fork down and told Barb Kensington she wasn't on the list, you have to understand the architecture of Evergreen Estates. Not the bricks, though those were immaculately painted in the exact HOA-approved beige. I mean the invisible scaffolding of rules that held everyone in place. In Barb's kingdom, approval was a finite pie, and every slice Lydia got was one I didn't. From the day we closed on our house, the script was written. Lydia was the golden resident for the welcome signs. I was the quiet one for the violation notices. Lydia got described as vibrant, compliant, elevating property values. I was needs time to adjust to covenants. My biological dad had left when I was 3. Mom remarried a man as neutral as Kenneth. Barb stepped into the matriarch role the second we moved in, curating the neighborhood like her spice rack, every herb native species only. Kenneth came with the territory, regional manager type, who managed HOA finances by refusing to participate in anything emotional. Dinner at HOA events was the daily liturgy where the hierarchy was reinforced. Spotlights swung to Lydia. Tell us about your new patio, dear. Barb would beam before Lydia even spoke. Lydia would perform. Choir of approved string lights. Lead role in the garden club. Math teacher level precision on mulch depth. If Lydia failed a rule, it was because the contractor was incompetent. If I so much as let mint creep an inch outside the herb bed, it was a $250 fine and a personal visit from Barb with her clipboard. My successes? Inconvenient. They required dividing attention, and Barb simply didn't have the bandwidth. I learned to become small, to occupy the negative space between covenants. By the time we'd lived there a year, I'd stopped fighting the fines. I got a job. I loved hunting discrepancies in spreadsheets, verifying identities, making sure the story the data told was the truth. Michael and I planted our herb garden anyway, basil, rosemary, that aggressive mint that threatened to take over. Our kitchen smelled of garlic and real life, not Instagram perfection. When we decided to host our housewarming last October, the decision not to invite Barb and the board wasn't malice. It was oxygen. I knew exactly how it would go. Barb running a finger over the doorframe for dust, asking why we chose that shade of blue when eggshell would open up the space. Lydia clutching her designer bag, reminding everyone her ceilings were 12 feet while ours were 8. They'd turn my sanctuary into a stage and demote me to stagehand in my own yard. So we didn't tell them. The party was chaotic heaven. 20 friends, no dress code, fire pit Michael built, 15 pizzas from the dive spot in town. Sarah from work spilled wine and just laughed, wiping it with a paper towel. No crisis. No lecture. The air felt light because no one was measuring me against covenants. But happiness in Barb's HOA is contraband. If you're happy without her permission, you're hiding something. A few weeks later, the inquiries began, subtle as water seeping under a foundation. Barb called on a Sunday while I repotted ferns, hands covered in soil. "So," she said, breezy but steel underneath, "I heard from Aunt Linda you moved in last year. Westerville Pocket, how quaint. Is it near the highway? I worry about noise pollution in those older sections." I gray-rocked her. Short answers, no address, no invite. She sighed. "As long as it's enough for you. Not everyone needs a grand entrance." Lydia was worse, texting late at night, like a drone, taking surveillance photos. "Mom said you bought a place. Send pics." I sent a grainy stove shot. She replied instantly. "Gas or electric?" Tyler insisted on the Wolf dual fuel for us. $6,000, but resale value. She wasn't asking about my stove. She was telling me hers was better. The ruler came out every time. A strange tension settled. Barb stopped asking about my job, started passive-aggressive monologues about loyalty and gratitude. "Funny," she said once. "I saw the Miller family at the club. Their daughter hosted her parents first thing. So sweet to honor the people who got her there. I refused the bait. My independence hurt them more than any violation ever could. When I was struggling with rules, I was useful, a cautionary tale. A happy, self-sufficient Ava with her own paid-off mortgage and perfect credit, that was a threat. While I was checking compliance logs at work and watering mint, the machinery of their resentment was already turning. Lydia's perfect life was expensive. The courts, the Wolf Range, the non-native landscaping, she somehow got approved. Tyler's job wasn't secure. The mortgage adjusting upward. They looked at quiet, steady me and saw a resource. A credit score not being utilized. Equity not being leveraged. I thought my wall of privacy kept me safe. I didn't realize walls are just things you tunnel under when you're desperate. The notification hit my phone while I brushed my teeth. Tuesday morning, gray nondescript day. Facebook alert. Barb had tagged me in the album The Art of Living, Lydia's housewarming. I spat toothpaste, sat on the tub edge, and scrolled. The photos were terrifyingly perfect. Lydia's living room looked like a catalog for people without kids, pets, or real life. Towering white hydrangeas, eucalyptus arranged to look effortless. It took 2 hours and wire, I knew. Grazing table, geometric perfection. But the caption made my stomach flip. So proud of my protege Lydia and her wonderful husband. It takes dedication to build this caliber. This is what happens when you work hard, stay focused, and honor HOA values. Evergreen legacy strong. We build castles. Barb had co-opted the whole thing, claiming Lydia's square footage as her personal victory lap. Michael walked in toweling his hair. Royal coronation? I showed him. He squinted. Architect, I scanning. Weird lighting. Studio lights reflected in windows. Furniture placement blocks the patio door. No personal items. No mail. No shoes. Look staged. He was right. It looked like a showroom set up Friday and taken down Monday. Cracks appear days later at the grocery store. Sarah from high school worked for event rentals. Saw the photos. Platinum package, furniture rental, mid-century velvet sofas, rugs. Delivered Thursday, picked up Monday. She said custom pieces delayed from Italy. $10,000 rented for one night, so guests wouldn't see an empty room. Lydia had rented a lifestyle. Phone calls changed tone. Barb started calling during work hours. Being the matriarch is heavy, she whispered conspiratorially. Lydia is under so much pressure. Tyler's bonus didn't come through. They just need a little runway. Then Kenneth texted, family is the only thing that matters. Money comes and goes, but blood is forever. We have to be the net. They weren't asking yet. They were buttering. Barb invited me to lunch, just us. New silk scarf. I looked at your LinkedIn. Senior compliance manager. Impressed. You're solid. Lydia has the image, but you have the stability. First compliment in years. Then the hook. If the situation arose where Lydia needed a temporary hand, just a bridge loan, I would hope you'd remember you're the strong one. Liquidity, solution. Family helping family. I walked away feeling used, but the pattern clicked in my compliance brain. They were running on fumes. The party was the last hurrah. Now the bill was due, and they saw me as the ATM. I waited for the ask. Instead, the notification came from my bank app, new credit inquiry. Then the full report. $14,000 home improvement line opened in my name 2 months ago. Dispersed to Elite Paving and Stone. Timing perfect with Lydia's new patio photos. I called the bank. Brenda in fraud was professional. Last 4 digits of the mobile number used for verification. I read my number. She paused. The number on file ends in 8992. Not mine. Not Michael's. It was Kenneth's cell. He had verified the fraud. Received the text, "Is this Ava Thompson?" and typed yes. I marked it disputed. Sat in silence, feeling cold fury spread. This wasn't pushy Barb. This was felony. Michael walked in with coffee. Saw my face. "We're going to the police." "No," I said. "Not yet." I didn't scream. I opened a new folder on my computer, Project Glasshouse. I wanted to see how far they'd go. I pulled all 3 credit reports. Damage contained to 1 loan, but the forged signature at the bottom with a loopy R and sharp Y that looked exactly like Lydia's handwriting. Someone had practiced becoming me. I printed it, slid into sheet protector. My phone buzzed. Barb inviting us to spring brunch. Kenneth making waffles. "Hope you can make it. We miss you." The audacity was breathtaking. They were stealing with one hand, waving with the other. I typed back, "We'll be there." Michael stared. "You sure?" "I'm not eating with family anymore," I said. "I'm eating with defendants." I spent the day in fugue investigation. Timeline on 1 sheet. February 14th, application submitted from IP in our zip code. 10 o'clock verification call. February 16th, 14 grand dispersed to contractor for patio. March 2nd, $200 payment from account not in my name. I contacted Marcus Sterling, fraud specialist. "Classic familial construction," he said. 70% of identity theft is someone you know. He warned, "Police report is nuclear." I left with instructions. Document everything. Act normal. Gather final pieces. Next stop, public Wi-Fi coffee shop. Cloud drive from bank. Verification audio file. I press play. Bank rep, speaking with Ava Thompson. A male voice pitched higher, trying to sound soft. "Yes." Date of birth correct. "Do you authorize the disbursement?" "Yes." "We need the patio finished before the party." It was Kenneth. Hemming nervously exactly like at every HOA meeting. He had checked my audit schedule weeks earlier. "Big meeting today? Don't want to bug you." Premeditated. While I was in a secure room, he impersonated me. I needed to know about Lydia. Dialed her. Kept voice light. "Just thinking about you." No, things were tense with expenses. She answered too fast. "We figured it out. Bridge loan." Ron handled paperwork. She slipped. I didn't have to sign anything. Then defensive. She knew enough to look the other way. Chose the patio over truth. Willful negligence. Betrayal. I hung up. Evidence binder grew thick. I printed 3 copies. Sunday brunch was coming. They wanted happy family. I would give them a performance they'd never forget. Monday after discovery, I took a personal day. Sat at my home desk smelling of lemon polish and order, and I froze everything. Equifax, Experian, TransUnion. Entered my SSN, answered security questions, locked the doors one by one. Your credit file is now frozen. No new creditors may access without PIN. Felt like boarding up windows before a hurricane. Next, the FTC affidavit. Dry form asking for dates, account numbers, name of suspect if known. I hovered over the box. Could type Kenneth Langford. Could blow the neighborhood sky high with keystrokes. I left a blank. Let the bank fill it. Let the police fill it. Impartial. Mathematical. Inevitable. I created the visual timeline. Horizontal line. Left, February 14th, 9:15 a.m., application from Columbus IP. Next, 10:05 a.m., verification call, male voice confirming my birth date. February 16th, 14 grand to Elite Paving. March, payment from their account. Michael, watch me organize. You're building a case. You have enough to send Kenneth to prison. I nodded. I don't want them to hurt. I want to be free. Free from wondering if they're lying. Free from being their resource. The only way is a wall of truth so high they can never climb it again. The phone buzzed. Barb changing plans. Marin's birthday, dinner Tuesday instead. Italian place with the mirrors. Just the board. We really want you there. The irony sliced deep. They were inviting me to the scene of the crime. I replied yes. Michael asked if I was sure. I'm giving them one last chance to surrender, I said. If they deny it, I drop the original affidavit in the mailbox and the bank's legal team takes over. I chose the dress for a deposition. Structured navy, high-necked. Heels that made me taller than Kenneth. I took 3 sheets only, timeline, transcript, notarized affidavit notice. Folded into cream envelope. Thin, harmless looking. But the most dangerous things are often just paper. Days blurred and calm. I watered plants. Slept well. Felt like an athlete tapering. Tuesday evening I stood in my kitchen. Evening light on the chipped mug, basil leaning towards sun. This house was real. Mortgage paid from our salaries. No ghosts. No rented sofas. I remembered our housewarming. Sarah laughing, neighbor bringing beer because they liked us, not to inspect crown molding. My life built on bedrock. Lydia's on a sinkhole she tried to fill with my credit. I was ready. Drive to Columbus quiet. Michael drove. I reminded him the rule, no explaining. They thrive on gray areas. We give binary. Yes or no. True or false. What if Bar cries? Let her. Tears don't invalidate a signature. What if Kenneth gets angry? Anger doesn't pay off $14,000. We pulled up to the valet. Marissa's luxury SUV already there, likely leveraged to the hilt. Heart gave one hard thump, then steadied. Fear comes from unknown. I knew exactly what they'd done. Knowledge stripped their power. Purse checked, envelope there. We walked in. Cool air smelled of truffle oil and expensive perfume. Maitre d' smiled. Joining the Kensington party? Table 4, center. Of course. Barb laughing, head thrown back, wine glass high. Lydia, checking reflection in spoon. Kenneth studying menu with feigned neutrality. They looked perfect, like a neighborhood with nothing to hide. Barb saw me. Ava, you made it, dazzling predator smile. I didn't smile back. Let Michael pull my chair. Hi, Barb. Hi, Lydia. Kenneth, you look serious. Lydia reached for wine. It's a party, Ava. Lighten up. We ordered calamari. Kenneth, the calamari is excellent. How was the drive? Illuminating, I said. I placed purse on table. Didn't open menu. Sat with hands folded. I was the auditor. The audit was beginning. I waited for pleasantries to die. Waited for water poured. Waited for silence to stretch thin enough to snap. Barb leaned in, manic joy sparkling. Lydia was just telling us the neighborhood is really coming together. And Ava, I'm so glad you came. I know things got tense with that little request, but we're family. We move on. I repeated, soft. We move on. Kenneth, water under the bridge. I looked at him, the man who had practiced my birth date. I agree. But before we order, one small administrative thing. Lydia laughed nervously. Administrative? Sounds like work. It is work, I said. It's about a patio. Smile froze on Lydia's face. Kenneth's hand stopped at breadbasket. I reached in a purse. Cool paper of envelope. I brought something for you. I placed it on white tablecloth between salt shaker and candle. Stark. Simple. We all knew the most dangerous things are often just paper. What is this? Barb asked, voice dropping. It's the truth, I said. Open it. The envelope sat like a landmine disguised as stationery. Nobody touched it at first. Barb glanced, brow furrowing as if I'd misplaced a coaster. She dismissed it, picked up her wine, swirled Pinot Noir, returned to script. It's just so lovely to be all together. Lydia, honestly, your housewarming was a triumph. Social event of the season. It set a standard. She pivoted to me, faux concern dripping. Which brings me my question, Ava. Your neighbor is settling in so beautifully. When are you going to catch up? There was the hook. In the past, I would have stuttered excuses about the market. Tonight, I looked at the envelope, thought about Kenneth's voice on that recording confirming my birth date while I sat in a secure audit room. I didn't get angry. I felt icy clarity, waking from a fever dream. I set my fork down. Metal clicked china, small sound cutting through restaurant noise like a gavel. I'm not going to catch up, Barb, I said, voice low, steady, devoid of tremble. I've already finished the race. I organized my housewarming last October. Silence absolute. Vacuum where oxygen used to be. Lydia's glass stopped halfway. Barb whispered, "You what?" I repeated, "We made pizzas." Bonfire. Drank beer from the bottle. It was perfect. Barb's brain tried to process. Didn't fit her file cabinet. Why didn't I know? How could you host and not tell the board? Shock turned to indignation, face flushing pink. I'm the president. Ava. Why wasn't I invited? I met her eyes. Because you weren't on the list. Lydia hissed. That is cruel. Barb has done everything for this neighborhood. I shifted gaze. Or everything for the image of this neighborhood. I invited people who celebrate me without conditions. People who don't treat my home like a competition venue. People who love me, not people who find me useful. Kenneth rumbled. Now, Ava, that's enough. You're being divisive. HOA isn't about lists. Family shows up. I turned to him. I'm not tearing anything apart. I'm refusing to pay for the glue anymore. Lydia went pale, staring at the envelope. She knew. Ava, stop. You're making a scene. I'm not ruining dinner, I said. I'm serving the main course. Barb deployed ultimate weapon. Tears. Quivering lip, single tear tracking cheek. Martyr being stoned by ungrateful resident. I don't understand you. I push because I want the best. I want you to have what Lydia has, and you treat me like an enemy. It breaks my heart. Old Ava would have crumbled, apologized. New Ava had a fraud affidavit in her purse. I watched the performance with clinical fascination. Unconditional love, I repeated softly. Love is not unconditional when it comes with a price tag. Love is not asking when I'm going to catch up like my life is a failure. Love is not turning your neighbor into a wallet. Table went deadly silent. Ambient restaurant noise faded. We were in a bubble of tension. Barb stopped crying instantly, replaced by genuine fear. She looked at Kenneth. He stared at the envelope, recognizing the bank logo. Lydia gripped her glass, knuckles white. I don't know what you're talking about, Barb said, voice thin. Don't insult my intelligence, I said, hand up. And don't insult the law. When you use someone's social security number to open a line of credit without permission, that's not a misunderstanding. That's a felony. The word hung. Barb went gray. Felony? Kenneth choked. Now hold on. Paperwork mix-up. I was moving assets to help with liquidity. Look at page 2, Kenneth, I said. The verification log. The bank has a recording of a male voice confirming my date of birth and authorizing $14,000. The call came from the number ending in 8992. That's the phone in your pocket right now. His mouth opened. No words. Misunderstanding defense evaporated. Page 3, my signature. Or rather a signature someone practiced very carefully. It looks a lot like the way Lydia writes her capital RS. All eyes turned to Lydia. She trembled. I didn't sign it. No, I said. You didn't hold the pen. But you knew. You took the money and didn't ask where it came from because you didn't want to know. That makes you just as guilty. I stood, legs solid. For the first time, I felt taller than them. From this moment, I am no longer your financial safety net. I am no longer your emotional punching bag. And I'm certainly not your victim. Kenneth snarled, you can't just walk away. We're your HOA family. I'm not walking away from family, I said. I'm walking away from crime scene. I placed 20 on the table. That's for my water. I didn't order anything else. Barb scrambled, grabbing my arm. Don't make this a big deal. We can fix it. Just don't leave us like this. I peeled her fingers off. You made it a big deal the moment you looked at my happy, quiet, honest life and asked when I was going to catch up. As if I was behind. I wasn't behind. I was running a different race, and I'm done running in yours. To Lydia, head in hands weeping, you can start over. But you have to do it with your own name and your own money. The image is gone. But if you tell the truth, maybe you can keep yourself. Michael stood. Hand on my back, warm, steady wall. We turned and walked away. Behind us, Barb sobbing, Kenneth cursing, waiter asking if everything was all right. I didn't look back. Walking out felt like leaving a prison I hadn't known I was in. Outside, air crisp. Street lights and puddles. City sounds sharper. Michael asked if I was okay. I breathed deep. Chest light. Weight I'd carried since moving in, trying to be good enough, trying to be approved by people who only loved reflections, was gone. I'm free, I said. I had lost an HOA family that night. But looking at Michael, thinking of my real house with mint growing and bills paid on time, I knew I hadn't lost anything. I'd finally balanced the ledger. They had asked me to catch up. I finally had. I caught up to the truth and left them far behind. Thank you for listening to this HOA Karen story. I hope Ava's journey gave you that sweet satisfaction. Sometimes the best revenge isn't screaming. It's quietly holding up a mirror and letting the entitled see themselves. Drop a comment where you're listening from today, and if this hit home, smash subscribe and like for more neighborhood drama that feels way too real. See you in the next one.